Hello, hello, hello. I'm going to welcome everybody to The Big Picture. This is Instant Everything, February 2026. And we all know that consumer payments are I would say, on full effect in this era. And I know in the last 12 to 18 months, instant stopped being a feature and became an expectation. 24 by 7 money movement, seconds to settle, confirmation in the same breath as the tap. And in the US, the two big real time account to account rails keep expanding. So, with what we call Fed Now, we've got about 1,300 participating institutions in this particular range, and they're still skewing toward community banks, credit unions, while the clearinghouse RTP network is processing, get this number, $4 billion daily on instant payments. So this is Grant McGaugh. We got Chris Principe here, and we're going to talk about these instant payments. We're going to continue on this rail. Chris, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Grant, thank you. So great to see you. Chris Principe here, publisher of Financial IT. And yeah, we are riding the instant rail.
Big time rails. Big $4 billion instantaneous gratification, right? I can get it right now. I don't have to wait. There's so many different ways to do this. Now, you've listened to a lot of our past shows. We're talking about these things. We feel you've got to have some discipline on the consumer side of the ball. We've talked a little bit about the merchant side of the ball. You've got some perspectives today that you couldn't wait to tell us. So give us the skinny on this.
Well, Grant, again, consumer payments, I want to just start off with the four I's. Payments need to be instant, invisible, intelligent, and integrated. And today, I want to in particular focus on the instant part. And I need to correct you on your great opening dialogue there, which is instant is not an expectation.
Aha. Okay. Tell me.
Instant is a necessity.
Oh, that's a great take on that.
And it really is true. And if you look at anything in our lives, and you mentioned quite a few, I mean, instant communication, right? Text messaging, these kind of things, right? We have on-demand TV. Watch any show you want, when you want to watch it, and how you want to watch it, right? We get instant transportation, Uber, Lyft, and Grab, right? We've got instant food delivery, for instance. We've got all these kind of things now that our lives really instant is a necessity because, like so many things in life, Grant, once you get used to it, you can't go back. Can you imagine if the cell phone network went down and we went back to hard lines with phones on the wall with a cord?
Well, half the population wouldn't even know what that is. They'd be like, "What? What do you mean? You got to plug it in? I mean, what is that? What does that even look like?"
Yeah, I mean, a rotary phone, you would have to learn it. You have to teach people, right? It's and memorizing your phone numbers. I mean, just these little things, that we did back in the day that now, people look at you like you're strange. I mean, I can tell you, my son, some years ago, I was telling him about my parents' favorite television show when I was a kid, which was The Honeymooners.
Right? Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And I said to him, it's in black and white. He said, "No, Dad, you're lying. There's no such thing as black and white TV." He's never seen one, right? So you look at that in so many things in life, Grant, and that's how we end up today.
Well, I tell you, even thinking through that, the Honeymooners being in black and white, or just going back, I remember going back to the movies themselves. They were just, small little clips, strung together pictures that they sped up. And then somebody said, "Oh, we got a movie." But fast forward to today, yeah, we have a lot of instantaneous gratification. I remember I had a book signing, matter of fact, on Saturday, and there's so many different payment modalities, right? So I had my Venmo, I had my PayPal, and then, but I didn't have Cash App because I turned off Cash App, and people were like, but then some people whipped out a credit card, and I was like, "Oh my God, what do I do with that?" How do I? So I tried to set up my Woo payment off through my website. It was running slow because my internet was running slow and it just wasn't working. I said, you know what? Don't worry about it. I'll get in touch with you. So there's so many different payment methods, but I tell you, the quickest ones were the one that are instantaneous, that they just did a QR code, boom, it was done. Didn't have to worry about it. Instead of whipping out credit cards and putting in the right digits and numbers. That's such a now an old way of doing it. Now, if I had my little tap thing next time, because I'm not used to doing, in-person payments. But if someone is doing that a lot, you need that little square. You need something that can be instantaneous.
Well, Grant, I'm really glad to hear you did your book signing. I wish you great success with many more. Tell us a little bit about the book.
Well, the book itself is called First Light, and that is the brave path to authentic leadership. And I do a lot. I really felt, especially in my lifetime and in the times that we're in, that we've lost some of the nuances of really what true leadership looks like. People are chasing titles. They want authority before they've even built it. They need identity first. Have you established your identity? And this is what I take people through, the BRAVE framework. But it's not just a lot of technical information and 1, 2, 3s. It's actually a narrative in which I take a client through the 5 mountains of experience, through brand identity, through resilience, through authenticity, visibility, and execution, to a point where it becomes memorable to my clients, and they understand it, that it's a fictional story, but it's based on actual nonfiction principles of establishing yourself. We talked about, even before we got on, you got to be resilient in today's world. If you do not understand that you've got to build the required muscle memory and the required new muscle to do different things, and understanding your skills gap between where you're at now and where you want to go, can you climb that mountain? Me as the guide, I need to tell you, well, you possibly could, but you need this, and you need this. And if you don't have those things, it's going to be a tough road. But then when you get to the top of that, can you be authentic in your true brand and taking into account your entire self, who you are as an individual? Can you lead other individuals or not? And then when you get into the playing field, I call it the digital Coliseum. You can appreciate that. All my fans out there that have watched Gladiator, the Coliseum is where we're at. You have to compete in the digital world at scale. How are you going to do that if you don't have AI knowledge? It's almost going to be impossible. And that gets into the execution phase. AI is an execution tool. So I take everyone through that type of narrative so they come away with where they are now, who do they serve, and what do they want to be in that particular scenario.
Well, Grant, I'm telling you, it sounds like an excellent read, something that I would love to check out myself. But the key thing that I took away from the word, which is a word that I use in a lot of my sales trainings, memorable.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you're a salesperson and you're going in someplace and you have competition, like you always do, if you're the guy that's memorable, you've increased your chances of getting the business. And what I'm hearing and what you're doing there is if people can just come away being memorable, everything else starts to fall into place.
100%. You've got to be memorable. People are scrolling past all kinds of information all the time. How are you going to stand out? And if you do stand out, are you just going to be remembered as someone who was funny? You're going to be remembered somebody who was intellectual? Or are you going to be remembered as somebody who's inspirational? All of these are in the messaging that you put out. To your point, I love how you keyed in on that. Memorable. Remember Memorex? I told everybody this. We had a conversation. He said, oh, AI, they can duplicate your voice and they can put out a different video imagery. I said, that's okay. Memorex. So does it really matter if you're looking at me as my physical self or me as a video image? It's about the message. What did the message tell you? Is it the message having you doing something that's positive or negative? That's what you really should tune into. Whether it's a live feed or a recording really is not that important. What's important is, what is it asking you to do?
Well, Grant, the other thing that I wanted to pick up on, you said, which was towards the end about what goes on in the book, is AI, right? Mm-hmm. And, we've talked about AI quite a bit. And one of the things that a lot of people talk about is I'm not a big believer in that because we've seen this over the years. You know, people that made horse-drawn carts found other jobs, right? Because they didn't need to make those. But I want to bring up a really interesting point in the field of mental health, right? In the field of psychiatrists and psychologists, they are not going to lose any jobs. You know why, Grant?
Why is that?
Because they've now defined what's called.
Oh, we got to hear this. What have they defined that? So, Chris, you delayed on our side, but we've got to get that thought finished. And while we work this out, we're going to go to a quick. Oh, are you back? We'll go to a quick break. Oh, there he is. Yes, you got to tell us. Tell us
what AIRD meant dysfunction. So they've actually classified and gotten an insurance classification to treat people for symptoms of anxiety, depression, insomnia, identity confusion, all related to the potential of losing their jobs to AI. And again, they call this AIR.
Chris, you were saying something super important and you got hung up. Start from that point again, because that's so important. Tell us again what you're talking about.
Right. Is the psychiatrists and psychologists have gotten a classification for people that are distressed by the threat of losing their jobs to AI. Right. It's now got an insurance classification. So we're not going to lose any jobs in the psychology or the psychiatry professions, right? They're making sure of that. Okay. And it's called AIRD, AI replacement dysfunction. And they say the symptoms are anxiety, depression, insomnia, and identity confusion.
Wow.
So as long as they find things, those people will have jobs, right? I guess.
Well, there's always going to be disruption, no matter what. I mean, if you think back, and you kind of alluded to that, you know, in the past, how things are done. The future is always moving forward. The present is always in a state of flux. So yeah, jobs will change, but then new jobs are created. That's what I think the anxiety comes from. If I lose this job, I don't have a job. Like, well, you might have a different job. You'll be doing something different. The most expensive, I would say, on anybody's line item is human labor. So that's not something you take lightly. You don't just get rid of it. You repurpose it in a way that it becomes more advantageous for you as a business person. I think that's super, super important. So start looking at, and I'm doing it right now here in the city of Omaha, a business accelerator, AI business accelerator, upskilling. You've got to upskill. You've got to get retrained on certain things because AI is riding on the current rails of the current infrastructure. So it's going to, if you're using a Microsoft suite, a Google suite, you've got a CRM backend, you've got all kinds of applications. They're just going to layer on we call it an intelligence layer. You've got to know how to operate in that. It's not so much going to replace you, but it should take some things off your plate so you can concentrate on things that are more important. So good point about the anxiety that's out there. I'm sure that people are worried, but think about what AI is going to take away, but what it brings back to the table, right?
So great. Let's take a quick break right now. And when we come back, I want to continue with this little bit more of an AI discussion.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
In today's fast-paced financial landscape, access to capital is the key to success. At the heart of this revolution is Case Capital Markets, powered by SETI-Case. Here, innovation and investment converge, creating a dynamic environment where businesses can thrive and reach new heights. Introducing Grant McGaugh, the senior advisor at Case Capital Markets. Grant is a visionary leader, dedicated to connecting businesses with institutional capital and strategic funding. His expertise opens doors to game-changing investment opportunities, making him an invaluable partner for companies looking to scale and succeed in the competitive world of finance. With an impressive 25 years in technology, 9 years in healthcare, and 6 years in investment banking, Grant McGaugh has a proven track record. He has successfully closed over $500 million in high-value transactions, seamlessly bridging technology, healthcare, and infrastructure with innovative financial solutions. His experience is a testament to his ability to drive success. Case Capital Markets offers businesses direct access to over 32,000 venture capital firms, private equity funds, family offices, and institutional investors. This network empowers mid-market companies with under $100 million in revenue to scale beyond their limits, unlocking unprecedented growth potential. Debt, equity, growth capital, public offerings. These are the building blocks of the future of capital access. Whether you're scaling a business, seeking investment, or exploring market expansion, Grant McGaugh is your trusted partner. Together, you can unlock capital and create long-term financial success. The future belongs to those who take action. Are you ready to elevate your business?
And we are back, man. We're getting heated up over here on the big picture. We're talking about instant everything. And I want to tee on a point that you said, Chris, about the displacement anxiety around AI. And you got to back up in time a little bit. How many jobs did the internet take? If you really think about it, it probably took a lot, but you shifted and adjusted to something else. How did the I would say social media impact media, radio, television, major advertisement? It certainly did, but people pivoted and changed. The same thing is going to happen with AI. To sit there and say, oh, it won't change. Yeah, it's going to change job functions. That certainly will. But then you get into other things that you can utilize that you couldn't do before. So I wanted to bring that up. Now, Chris, you look like you got a lot to say. What's on your mind?
Well, Grant, first, great point that you bring up. And I would say, one of the reasons why it's much more of a discussion of jobs lost to AI than versus the internet, which absolutely took away a lot of, as well as, the automobile.
Yeah, and the automobile history, and a lot of things that over time, you just can't continue doing what you did. I mean, you can still make horses. I mean, or I should say put horses in a horse carriage. I can say make horses. But I think a car might get you there quicker.
Yeah, and so that's the thing. But I think today, because of the media in general, it's a lot easier to access all this information and build up this story of job replacement. Along with that, I also think there's a deeper rooted psychological fear here, which is since we've been kids, we've seen all these science fiction movies, and so many of them play around this theme of AI and robots and things that will take away our jobs, right? And I think the movies have built in this over years and years, so it becomes more reality today when actual AI is helping us.
Man, and see, because it's memorable. We go back to what you said earlier. It's memorable. You remember that movie. You remember the outcome. Like, oh my God, where's what's her name? Connor against the bot. And this is what launched, Schwarzenegger's career. Everybody remembers that. Oh, Skynet. So this is a problem. But anybody that works with real technology knows that that's not, at least in this time of mankind, that's really not realistic. You can probably launch, some drone attacks. You could do some things if that were the case, if you wanted to be destructive. But I think we'd be better off if we concentrate on being constructive. Let's be constructive in what we can do. Now at scale, everybody can be a video creator. You can create very good content at scale. But AI is not just content creation, with your video and audio and text. It does great. But with this next wave of agentic AI, this is where you're really talking about of replacing job function. Because the AI of itself, the agentic AI, robotics, you can even say that, it can do a lot of repetitive tasks very, very quickly, very, very intelligently, so to speak, and do it at scale. And that is what you should be really looking at, the agentic AI era.
Well, Grant, I'm going to give you a new term also, and it's embodied AI. Right?
Embodied AI. Whoa, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got to hear about this embodied AI. And I've heard about that. You're taking an AI brain, more or less, putting it into a robotic, meaning a physical asset that can look, feel, talk in a physical environment. Now I call it spatial AI. It can spatially detect where it's at and be able to do certain things at a level that could be, could mimic a lot of human functionality.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And that's really the basis of it. Robotics has grown tremendously. There's a lot of really exciting things that are happening on the robotics side. I like to follow some of this stuff. It's a little bit outside of our financial space, but I think there's some application. But when I really think of robotics teamed up with AI, right away I come up with so many of beneficial disaster scenarios. You could have an AI guided robot enter a burning building and save people, Grant.
Yeah, you're probably seeing it now real time. If anyone's following what's going on in Russia and Ukraine, you're starting to see how technology is being utilized, and not just using human capital and troops out there. They're using a lot of high-end technology. You're seeing the drone robots going out there, so you're not losing human life. You're using a lot of technical aspects of it, but you're starting to see modern warfare is changing. And you're starting to see, wow, why do I have to go out there and put my life in danger when I can put a robotic a robot of itself that's an intelligent robot that can go out there, save a person from a burning building, maybe do a lot more of that, or go, you've heard about going diving into the ocean and rescuing people. I mean, there's a lot you can do. You've seen these little robotic dogs that go out into different communities now and do surveillance and really see what's going on. I bet they use a lot of AI when they captured one of the kingpins in Mexico just recently and ended that threat. So there's a lot more that can be done utilizing these different types of technologies.
Yeah, and Grant, it's really interesting because there's so many beneficial things, and people focus more on the things that maybe are harmful or doubtful. But I want to take just a special moment here. There's been a big event that's going on, which is the Winter Olympics. Mm-hmm. And I want to do a special shout out to both our women's hockey team, but especially our men's hockey team, who have absolutely shown up big time and took home the gold for us. And I bring it up for another reason too. Grit, today, on this day in 1940, was the very first.
Oh, now I got to hear that. 1940? What happened in 1940?
The very first televised NHL hockey game.
Really?
Between Montreal Canadiens and the New York Rangers in Madison Square Garden.
I did not know 1940. And when we talk about brand, right? And when I think of Winter Olympics, what's the brand of the Winter Olympics? Their signature event is definitely, it's got to be hockey is at that high level. I can never forget when the U.S. beat Russia, I think in the 1980 or 84, and it was explosive.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was great for the sport of hockey, but it was really great for the Olympics. It brought a lot of people, I think, to the Olympics. And right now, I think, especially here in America, we have so many things to celebrate, so many things that really are going well for us compared to a lot of other places. And we spend more time focusing on the negative than on the positive. It needs to change, Grant.
I would second that. That is it's a neurological disorder is what I would call it. It's easy to be critical, right? And then in my book, I go back to my book because I talk about this, that the real nemesis, every book's got to have a nemesis, right? You've got to have a nemesis, right? It's not going to be a good book. It's not going to be memorable. Who doesn't, remember Darth Vader? You got to have it. But in this book, we talk about critical mind, like a being. Critical mind, bias, status quo, and imposter syndrome is something, it's like a default mental state of most people. It takes a lot of creativity and intentionality to get above this negative stream that is always in front of us. It's so easy to criticize somebody else than to do something positive or see the positive in that situation. We just talked about AI. Yeah, you can put a job. I'm losing my job. You can just go all day with that and be very in this closed, fearful, anxiety state. Or you can say, whoa, this allows me to do this now, or this allows me to do that now. It frees me up. So that's a neurological disorder in which we're not seeing the full scope and the full picture of reality.
Well, Grant, I think you're spot on with all that. I think it's time, and I'm going to do it again. Let's go to a break.
Oh, yeah. We got to go to a quick break, and we'll come right back.
You're the one everyone counts on when things get tough. The go-to problem solver. The person who quietly keeps the wheels turning, but when it comes to recognition, promotions, or those big stretch assignments, it always seems to go to someone else. Someone louder, maybe, but not necessarily more capable. If you're tired of being the company's best-kept secret, it's time to step out of the shadows. That's why I wrote First Light, The Brave Path to Authentic Leadership. This isn't about changing who you are. It's about finally being seen for the leader you already are. Inside, I'll walk you through the Brave Blueprint. Boldness, resilience, authenticity, vision, and execution. These are the qualities that help you own your story, show your value, and lead with a presence people can't ignore, whether you're in the room, on paper, or online. Imagine leading meetings where your ideas get noticed, getting the handshake from your boss, seeing your new role announced for everyone to see. That's what happens when you stop leading in the dark. Ready to step into the light? Get your copy of First Light and unlock the Brave Masterclass at 5starbdm.com/Brave Masterclass. Your story deserves to be seen.
Imagine, if you will, a single point of connection that puts at your fingertips all of the things that we do in our daily lives with ease of access and convenience. Whether in your personal life, for work, travel, and entertainment with family, friends, and in your work life. The new OneConnect app is all you need to make your life more manageable and efficient in maximizing the best use of your time. The OneConnect app is your new connection in a world of busy people with lots to do and not enough time to get things done. OneConnect app was created with you in mind and is all you need. Download OneConnect app now. Also visit us at www.oneconnectapp.com.
Well, thanks for taking us to break, Chris. I know you got a lot more to tell us. Hey, get it out. Let us know. Educate us, please. I call him the money magnet.
Well, thank you, Grant, for that. I want to just turn on something a little different. I want to do a quick list with you, right?
Okay.
So, the National Center of Education Statistics has tracked what is the number one degree each year since 1970, right? And the number one university degree that people obtain has been number one since 1980. Any guesses what do you think that is?
Computer science.
How about business degree?
I like that. I like that.
Yep, business degree. And number two, health education. There you go.
Really? Health education? And that bodes well for me being in healthcare and business and technology. I like that. Oh, good.
That's why I thought about you and the tie-in in that. But there's actually almost 50% more business degrees each year. Last year there was just about 400,000 graduates of business last year in our university. Important. Now, also interesting, English literature, which used to be number 4, has dropped all the way down to number 16. So I don't know how much English literature is anymore, Nobody speaks.
Well, it's about survivability and what can you do. You're going to spend a lot of money going to college. You need to make a lot of money because of your education. Most people that got an English degree are like, what can I do? Well, you can be a teacher. I mean, what do you do with it? So you got to make something that's useful.
So that was my little list for the day. Now I want to talk about a really interesting happening. All the companies have been releasing their last year 2025 results, and last year Walmart, which has always been the biggest, not necessarily the fastest growing, but 3 years has been.
Walmart. Walmart. I applaud Walmart. And I'm going back in my own memories, my own memorabilia, that I remember there was another store called Kmart. Kmart had been around a lot longer than Walmart. However, Walmart came along and just blew them away with their business model with against a brand that had always been there. I don't understand what happened to Kmart, but Walmart just came and just get out of the way. I'm full steam ahead and becoming one of the most profitable businesses in all of America.
Yeah, Grant, you're exactly right. And it is an interesting history. Walmart seems to have done all the right things. Kmart's and Sears have done all the wrong things. So for 2025, Walmart's had $713 billion in sales, and for the first time in decades was edged out by the company that had $716 billion in sales. Any guesses?
Whoa, Amazon?
Amazon is right. So there it goes. So for the first time that Amazon now is in first place as the biggest retailer, while Walmart's has fallen just by a smidge into second place. And it's interesting, Walmart's share of U.S. retail spend is around 7.5%.
That's a lot.
7.5%. All consumers all spend money with Walmart. Amazon's at 9%. So there you go. That tells the whole.
Those are fun facts. We have to understand behavior and why is that. And I go back to the one thing: ease of use. I mean, Amazon is so easy to use, and I hate to say that. I know there are certain people out here that work for Best Buy, but everybody knows, Best Buy is Amazon's showroom. I mean, that's not how you want to be known from a brand perspective. Because if you want to know how it really works, and I'll go over here, but I'm gonna get it cheaper. I'm gonna get it delivered probably the same day, and I have a refund mechanism that's just second to none. Walmart is just a one-stop shop for everything. You can just go in there, and pretty much it's going to be in there, and you can buy it, get it, and walk out. No issues, no hassles, no problem. And I think they just nailed the market.
Well, and the secret with Walmart's has always been that when you sell to Walmarts, you have to become part of the Walmart software, right? Which really means that you show Walmarts how much you make. Walmart tells you your profit margin, and Walmart pays you in 10 days and takes 2% discount. It's that percent that their cash flow allows them to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a very powerful business model. Makes it easier for merchants, people that have products and services they want to get on a Walmart shelf because they have a brand. Walmart is a platform for people to understand. They don't really make anything. Neither does Amazon. They don't really make anything, but they have a delivery platform that's trusted and that is guaranteed. So if you know, and the people, they trust it. I'm going to Walmart. They don't know who, I rarely look at the labels, and I probably really should, but I know it's there. Hey, here's some glue. I'm going to get that. Walmart got it under. It must be vetted already. I'll buy it and walk out the store. So I think their platforms are just easier to use, and they're trusted. Trust. They're trusted.
Yeah. And trust is the name going forward for industry in general. For consumers, want to be able to trust you, and that's a big thing. So talk about something a little bit different. And when you start thinking of how things can be complementary, Uber just announced that they are buying a company called Spot Hero. And with
Spot Hero, okay. I want to know about this Spot Hero. I mean, there's so many apps that are out here now. You talked about these super apps and things like that. So if Uber is buying something like Spot Hero, there's got to be, what's the secret sauce? So tell us more, like why would Uber, more or less a cab company, buy Spot Hero?
Well, also remember that
I was like, Chris is having a little bit of technical problem, but I think I can't answer that particular question, but as I think about it, and I said that it's a taxi company. It really is. It's a platform company. It's a digital platform company is what Uber is. So Chris, tell us more about this.
Right. So the same way you would book a car on Uber, you want to go from point A to point B. When you drive your own car, you can go onto the Uber app and you'll be able to book your parking spot at, say, the Miami Heat basketball game, or at any different events. These kind of things, and I don't know how deep that eventually can go. For instance, if you have to go to the hospital to visit somebody, can you book your parking spot on this? Maybe. If you go to the supermarket, will there become a time when you can book your parking spot? Maybe. It opens up so many interesting things, but it's seems like such an almost natural fit. Uber does call.
Yeah, I see that. I don't know if I'm sold on it. Is it that big a deal? No, I always look at it as, is this a painkiller app or is this a vitamin app? Now, when I say that, I mean people, you should take your vitamins. The vitamins are good for you, but I don't think people like, oh, wow, if I don't take my vitamin today, there's going to be a major, major issue. Where a painkiller, if you're in pain, that's something you want to get out of as soon as possible. And so you'll take the medication, if that's what it is, to get out of pain. Is being able to pre-book a parking spot that big a deal? I think it depends on the market. If you're at a New York City, but a lot of people in New York City don't drive cars. So you got to look at where would that really benefit somebody. And I'm not sure, but I'm sure they've done the research, because you've got to do your research. You got to understand the market intelligence, and something that's telling them that this is something that could be truly, truly beneficial. So we're going to go to a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to kind of unpack a lot of this and see where we can go and make sure that we are on a better, even playing field. Talk to you later.
The difference between influence and legacy, it's the platform that carries your voice. You're not visible because you lack talent. You're visible because your brand doesn't speak. I've built 5-star BD&M to change that. Most leaders have the expertise, but not the presence, the vision, but not the vehicle. Across 3 cities, one brand is helping leaders rise above the noise. Here in the heart of Omaha, strategy isn't left to chance, it's engineered with precision. In Omaha, we engineered your Zachner brand, AI-powered, data-driven, precise. TISA went from a local nonprofit to a national speaker in 90 days. We don't guess your brand strategy, we build it. On the shores of St. Croix, your brand takes on depth and meaning, shaped through curated retreats and legacy experiences. In St. Croix, strategy becomes soul. Our retreats don't just refine your message, they rediscover your mission. One founder rewrote his entire company story here. Funding followed 30 days later. This is where leaders remember who they were meant to be. In Vibrant Miami, momentum meets amplification, transforming your voice into a movement. In Miami, your brand becomes a movement. Business development accelerators, audience building. Joy came with an old website and an outdated company name, but she left with 5,000 followers and a waiting list. This is where you scale with soul. 3 cities, 1 mission, your legacy ignited. It started with a thread. Let's pull it together. Stop blending and start leading. 5-Star BDM, where legacy is engineered, embodied, and ignited. Visit 5starbdm.com and book your brand audit today.
And we are back. We are back. We're talking about instant everything. You just brought up a new investment by Uber. I had a little bit to say about that. I don't know if it's a vitamin or a painkiller, being able to pre-order your parking space. But Chris, what say you? Chris is not talking today. Chris is saying, I am not sure about that particular the app, but you know, there's so many apps out here now. I just don't know. So I'm trying to get your point of view, Mr. Principe.
Well, you know, Greg, why don't we shift a little bit and talk a little bit more about AI?
Okay.
Because some interesting information I was reading is Apple actually spent their time going through different AI models and looking at where they excel. And this be, I think, helpful for a lot of people. Okay, so there's really 2 basic models, what we call the standard model and what we call the reasoning model, right? So when you break tasks down to 3 different types, which is complexity tasks, medium complexity, and high complexity. Here's the results after substantial testing by Apple for AI. When it comes to low complexity tasks, right? So you want it to do something very simple. You have a quick set of instructions. AI excels at this, especially the standard model, more than the reasoning model. The reasoning model spends
I think what you're talking about is super important. AI has different modalities. And I think a lot of people, especially let's just take Chat GPT as an example. There's different modalities. There's the thinking mode that has a certain functionality and timing. There's a reasoning mode that's a little bit different. There's a deep research mode. There's an agentic mode, agent mode within it. So there's different use cases for the AI depending on the workload or that you're going to utilize it for. And I think people need to understand that you can't just not a one size fits all. They understand there's a switch. That's what I like about Chat. Chat is, for me, it's a tool. It's my workbench. And it has a lot of tool sets within it. But on my workbench, I have other AIs, not just Chat GPT. So I hear what you're going with the complexity levels of different AI models, right?
So if we go to the medium complexity, this is where AI really shines. Both the standard and the reasoning thinking models really shine because you're giving it a set of instructions and you're allowing it to explore different paths, to do self-corrects, to do responses to you rather than just a simple task. AI really shines here. But what's really kind of interesting is when you talk about high complexity, right? Here's where both those models actually fail. Accuracy goes way down. In fact, there's in most cases a complete breakdown on the AI side that as the problem gets harder, AI stops trying.
You're going to tell me that it gives up? You can't give up. But it's true. We call that drift in our world. There's a lot of drift. You get hallucination. It's programmed to give you some type of answer. But that answer could be completely wrong. And in certain high stakes situations, you can't afford that kind of inaccuracy within it. So as it continues on, like you said, the complexity level gets harder and harder. It's very good at routineness. But and that's the thing about human behavior. We are very, very complex beings. And it's not easily simulated. And AI is a simulation of intelligence. It's not actual intelligence. And I keep telling that people so many times. It's simulated. It's like you're looking in the mirror of yourself. Is that yourself in the mirror? So you got to be very, very understanding what it truly is and how you can utilize it.
Well, Grant, you're exactly right. Artificial intelligence is not intelligent, right? Yeah. So it's really relying on a lot of past history and predicting what the assumed next steps, next sentences, next words should be, right? Mm-hmm. And when you talk about doing things that are a little bit more complex, right? What's really recommended is that you run it through several different AIs and pair the responses, right? And it's sort of the same kind of thinking that you get a diagnosis from your doctor. They always say get a second opinion. Well, it's the same thing in AI. Is that if you get a Claude to do something, go to ChatGPT, do the same thing. Go to DeepSeek, do the same thing. Go to Grok, do the same thing, and then you can be able to compare and put together a more complex but a more overall balanced response.
Yeah, and and I'm glad you bring that up again because we have to understand the skill sets. And we're just talking generative AI, the large language models, right? Each one of these has different skill sets. They're good at certain things. Claude is very, very good at text outputs, I would say. And that's because of how it was trained. And it was trained on more human language and consuming more books and authored works than ChatGPT, which kind of scanned the internet for a lot of its data set. Well, there's a lot of junk out there on the internet, right? So it doesn't know if good or bad or indifferent. It's a machine. Remember, it has no context. It has content, but no context. And so contextual intelligence is a whole different thing, and it's complex, to your point. So as you go up the stack from data to information to context and then to wisdom or experience, that's a leap for a artificial intelligence type machine.
Grant, and I think in some ways it mirrors, we talked a little bit about university degrees, right? And I'm bringing that in because, I had a conversation earlier this week, and what we talked about was how, young kids are coming out of university with their degrees and they want to be vice presidents right away. And there's just that gap we're losing, which is come out, start at.
I think you're so right. And that's why that's another great reason why I wrote my book, First Light, The Authentic Path to Leadership, because of that very thing. You've got to put in the work. You can't expect to, like you said, like a college kid, you come out, you're just going to go into the pros, start and become a Hall of Famer. That's not realistic. You got to, it's a different speed of the game. Everybody has ability and talent at the pro level as opposed to the collegiate level. So as you might have been excelled at your college and you got a MBA and you got all these things that, well, I can do the work of a vice president. ChatGPT might tell you can do the work of a writer. No, you can't. You don't have no experience, no context, no wisdom. You need situational awareness. You need emotional intelligence, and you've got to be able to make the hard decisions. That is not an easy task for someone who has no experience in what they're doing.
Well, yeah, great. And exactly right. I mean, how do you explain doing something to somebody if you haven't done it? If somebody does something that you want them to do and they have an issue, how do you know how to solve the issue if you haven't been there and done it? And so on. So these are, to me, really important building blocks. And I think that the younger generations are missing out on this because, and let's go to the beginning of the show. Instantaneous. Everything has to be instant everything, right?
Yeah, that we cannot teach that, just like in the game of Monopoly. And we can always break down capitalism really to its core. And I think it's around Monopoly. You don't start out owning the block. You don't start out with a bunch of hotels. You don't start out with a monopoly. You start out pass and go and try to collect $200. And typically when you get out of school, that's kind of where you're at. And your next, experience should be around how do I now collect enough money to buy a property so you can get into the game. Remember, the game is already being played all around you, so it's going to be interesting.
And Grant, it's interesting also is because, today we actually have instant intelligence, right? And, so you can come out of school and have any intelligence, right? You can have that intelligence instantly, and I used to always say, you don't need to know everything, just need to know where to find out, right?
Yeah, access, yes.
But the one thing that doesn't apply here is you can't have instant experience.
No, that's right.
Okay. And there's a difference between instant intelligence and instant experience. The two are not the same, although I think to a lot of people, especially our younger generations, they would argue that it is.
No, not even close. Experience and existence are not what you would call instantaneous. Just because you look at a YouTube, on something, I would tell somebody that would be like me taking a fifth grader and dropping them into a physics class. They could watch some videos on physics and got maybe some kind of cursory understanding, but the layer of intelligence is so far beyond their experience at that level that they could not maybe do. Oh well, somebody. Yeah, that's a genius. That's a 1 in 10 million that may be able to do that. But don't discount getting experience. You have to go through the journey and then the nuances. And this is what you're going to see as a big differentiator in the AI era of what is valuable. You're going to be valuable because of how you can critically look at things, how you can analyze things from your point of view, which is so important, and design thinking. Those machines are waiting for a human intelligence to guide it. That's why on my website, I have HAI, human artificial intelligence, or I would even say human applied intelligence, because I understand it as someone who's been in technology for 35 years. I know what it does and what it doesn't do. And what it doesn't do, it has no real intelligence. You need to understand this. It has no real context. It has a simulated context based on past experience for someone who had experience, like Chris. I could simulate Chris's, past shows and all right, it makes me look smart. But I guarantee you, when I put you to the test, you're going to fail because you don't have actual intelligence and experience to understand what to do, why not to do something, and what we should do going forward.
Grant, I got to tell you, you went right down the road that I was hoping you would travel. And that is such a key thing, is for people to understand that guidance is what is needed for these systems, right? What humans bring in terms of all these things. So to me, nobody should suffer from AIRD, AI replacement dysfunction, because there's plenty of room. There's plenty of things to do because AI can't do it all.
No, but it's very good at analytics, very good at mathematics, things that are very certain that 1 + 1 = 2 every single time. You could take your books. How about doing your taxes? Someone say, hey, do my taxes for me. Like, oh my God, I accumulated all this information right in front of me. Did my taxes in less than 5 minutes. Who would not want that? And that you are assured that the information is correct, because it's, again, in an analytical platform and is only dealing with data and numbers. It'll blow anybody away. It's like a calculator, as opposed to me trying to do math by hand. It can do it a lot quicker, a lot better. But can you trust the information? It really just depends on the platform and what the output you're looking for is. But remember, life is a lot more than that. Life is very creative. Life is not static at all. It's constantly moving and shaping and morphing into other things. And this is where AI cannot keep up in its current form. There's no way, because it's not that predictable. Even though we're using probabilistic math and some of these things in these LLMs, that's why it can get things wrong so quickly, because in a nuanced, creative world that we live in, it's not that simple. But as a banker, and a banker should know this, and we're talking to the money magnet, if all you're doing is number crunching, AI is a pretty good tool.
Yeah, Grant, not only crunching those numbers, but also giving you some analysis. And speaking of analysis, I'm ready to start analyzing what we're going to do for next week's show. We'll see you there.
All right. Well, this has been wonderful. I want to thank everybody for being on the show, and we'll look for you to see you next week on The Big Picture. Take care.
Welcome to our TV network, your ultimate destination for all things exciting and essential. From mouth-watering food to the latest in fashion, health, education, music, movies, and news, plus thrilling sports and breathtaking travel, our TV network brings it all to you. Tune in today and experience the best of every world, all in one place, RTV.network.